Hello there,
Welcome to a special edition of
John and Lauren's.
Lifetime Christmas Movie Reviews.
Yes.
We have co-stars today.
Yep, they're gingerbready.
And today's episode, we're going to talk about a New Orleans Noel. Despite having gone to college to study architecture together, Grace and Anthony's lives took them on separate paths, but they're both hired to work on the home of Loretta Brown at Christmas. So, it stars Patti LaBelle and Keshia Knight Pulliam, who is the little girl from The Cosby Show.
Yep. And,
we picked it because John is from New Orleans.
Yes.
And
that was the best part of the movie. It was not good.
It wasn't terrible.
So the two main characters, Patti LaBelle's character was good. She was kind of like she was the grandmother of the family.
She was the grandmother, but I don't think she was a good actress.
No, the acting across the board was bad.
Yeah.
And it was just not like all of the characters. It's possible it wasn't the acting, it was just everything about it was bad because the characters were very one-dimensional. They were
I will agree with that, but I think we should start from the beginning and give the whole synopsis. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's kind of good to go into an overview before.
Okay.
But yeah, the characters were one-dimensional. We'll get into that.
So it begins with Keshia Knight Pulliam, and she is basically a vagabond because her parents died in college, and so her architecture career has taken her a few months in this city, all over the world. But of course, she is going to New Orleans around Christmas time, and she happens to be staying with one of her good friends. And one thing that college that I did like is because normally in the Lifetime movies, the Christmas ones in particular, their homes are extravagant and you're like, oh, okay. But her friend lived in a tiny little duplex, basically.
Yep.
And it was very small. So that was a refreshing change of pace. Although I think her friend was drunk, and we'll get to that. But so she shows up and is like, I have this really good job opportunity with this Loretta Brown. And the drunk friend is like, she's famous here. And I was thinking, okay, because she's Patti LaBelle, she's a singer. No, it's because
she makes pralines,
and you have to say it.
Very, very good.
You have to
very
say it.
Famous.
Pralines, which kind of annoyed the shit out of me, I'm gonna say.
It was very much like poinsettias for Christmas, where they go out of their way to say the word as many times as possible. But, so she shows up at Loretta's house to start work and on the way there they stop for coffee, and she hides behind the bushes with her friend because she saw her old college fling, and she was distracted by that and was like, oh my god, I haven't seen him in 10 years. I don't want to see him. Hide behind this very small bush. And so he walks by, and then she moves on, and they walk up to the house, and she is like, oh, this is a very cute house. I love this.
And it was cute. And
he walks out, and she's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? What are you doing here? And he's like, she's like, I'm here for a job. She's like, oh, really? And they're both just talking about, oh, it's been so long, it's nice to see you. And they're talking about the job that they're there for. And they get down to the bottom of it, and it's like, oh, I'm remodeling this house. Oh, that's funny, I'm remodeling this house. And then it becomes apparent that Loretta set them up to, remodel the house together.
Yes. And so they go inside and meet Loretta, aka Patti LaBelle.
Yeah.
And she's this famous, baker, praline maker, but she has extra long, pointy royal blue acrylics. And we're like, okay. Anyway, and so she is very welcoming, of course, and they're kind of confused, like, why are we both working on this job? Meanwhile, the house was gorgeous as is, but she wants it to be renovated for generations of family to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they get the tour of the house and start this whole weird rivalry
Slash flirtation.
It's like their whole shtick is this like weird rivalry based relationship where she's better than him at everything and he hates it and blah blah, and that's their whole like that basically is how the next hour of the movie unfolds. It's her shutting him down repeatedly in various ways, and like they're doing weird things. One of the things that should be mentioned is that the main character, what was her name?
Gabby. Grace.
Grace is basically alone because her family passed away shortly after college. And so she is like not big on the holidays, obviously. Holiday movie shocker. She's not big on the holidays. She's a workaholic, does all the like doesn't really have any traditions for the holidays, doesn't really care to do anything for the holidays. And like one of the first couple of scenes with the whole family,
super large family.
Yeah, it was very weird that they kept referring to the family as super large when it was
the
Patti
grandma,
LaBelle, one daughter, and then
the daughter's two sons, which one was the guy, and then his brother, and then the brother's child.
Yeah, it's like it's large in the sense that it spans 4 generations.
That's true.
But it's 6 people. So it's like this isn't really a large family.
But they kept saying it throughout the thing.
Yeah. But in the it was one of the first introductions. It becomes they lay it out and say that the brother told
the
Loretta about the girl being his college crush. So that's why she hires him or her to come back to the town and try to reconnect and bring some spirit back to his life.
Yeah, because he's a workaholic
as well, but apparently a bad one because he like works all the time, neglects his family, but also at the same time doesn't come up with good ideas for renovation.
So for this 1800s New Orleans house, which is gorgeous as is, he wanted to like knock down all the walls and put concrete
fixtures and stuff like that in there.
And
so she rightfully shut that down and was telling him like, no, we got to do like old and new. It's a melting pot. So we mix, traditional styles with some metal features and some other things, and comes up with a plan for this whole thing.
Of course.
And they're the whole time Patti LaBelle's character is trying to bring the girl into the family to provide her with that family relationship that she's been lacking, hoping that he will also follow because he's been also neglecting the family. So they do a lot of social events and they run into each other at the store, the praline store, and they run into each other on the streetcar.
Okay, but they did a cute like date day, which I think would be fun.
Yeah, that was about when the movie started to turn.
Yeah.
Because like the first 40 minutes of this event of this relationship was just,
it was very slow.
Them both being a stick in the mud and both being very combative. But yeah, it starts to turn at that point when they decide that they're gonna take advantage of the time and like try to enjoy what's there. He says that he'll give her a tour of New Orleans, and she says, okay, well, I want to know about your New Orleans, not what's in the note or what's in research and papers and books and stuff, because I know all about that. I want to see your New Orleans. And that's when he takes her to the Jingle
Bell Hop. And what it is basically a scavenger hunt of different things around New Orleans. And then you get like Jingle Bell necklaces around each one. And lo and behold, they won.
Yes.
So that was cute. And then they started liking each other then. And she meets his niece.
Yeah.
Randomly, of course. At whatever, outside. And the niece is like, oh, come eat with us. And da-da-da-da. And so then she acts like a dummy because she's sitting at the table with his family. And they're like, oh, you're Grace. Why don't you say Grace? And she's like, I have a phone call. Peace out. And she just leaves.
Yeah.
It was very, very stupid. And so that's, I guess, her character's way of dealing with things. And so anyways, blah, blah, blah. They're good after that. And they invite her to their huge family dinner for their Christmas party where their like third cousin twice removed is there and all that stuff. And they are dancing. Her dress
you skipped a bunch there.
Okay, we'll go back to it. Her dress was amazing. It was all sequined, like
white sequin.
White and silver sequins. And he was like, you look like Christmas makes you feel. And I was like,
Yeah, so before that they had the neighbors or her friend's party.
Oh, that's right, the drunk friend.
The friend had a party that was because she's Jewish,
oh,
so
that's
it was
right. I forgot about the party.
The Merry Happy
Hanukkah
Mess party, and that was like there's this part of a subplot there where the guy is trying to figure out his great grandmother's praline recipe.
Oh, that's right.
So that if he figures out the recipe, she'll let him help renovate the store. And so that's like part of the workaholic aspect of his side.
It was just really obnoxious and a weird filler.
Yeah, it's weird filler, but it goes to show that his character is very distracted and not like present for the holidays.
It was stupid.
He's wasting all this time trying to make cookies and just keeps making them badly. And eventually they connect, and at that party is when they really start to connect. He writes this letter to Santa as part of a contest that she was having, where it was like everybody at the party writes a letter and they will
choose the best one and you're the king or queen of the holidays.
Yeah. And so 2 people fill it out, and it's the main character, and so it's Grace and the guy Anthony fill out the cards, but he doesn't turn it in. He asks her to proofread it for him, and she goes back and reads this letter to Santa professing his love of her forever.
And he wants Grace for Christmas.
Yes. And she was like, oh, is this really how you feel? And he's like, yes, it's always been. And she's like, well, that's how I felt, or how I used to feel too. And then she pulls the Mitch Hedberg, I do drugs, or I did drugs. I used to do drugs, but I still do. So she's like, yeah, I totally butchered that joke, but she's like, yeah, I used to feel that way, but I still do. And it's like, oh, okay. And then they make this, they get ready to kiss because they're sitting under mistletoe, of course.
Yeah.
And they get distracted by the friend leading a marching band down the road. An impromptu marching band.
Yeah.
And so they all start marching and giggling about how much fun it is. And then shortly after that, they get to that party. But
wait, there's one more section.
We've forgotten about the part where Loretta and Anthony are talking, and she's telling him to connect with her because it's obvious that he cares for her, and he makes a snide comment about how she hasn't connected with anyone, and she was like, well, I'll connect with someone after you connect with someone. And so they both start courting their, like, he starts courting Grace, and then she starts interacting with the dad from
Sister.
Sister.
If you're following with us this far, good, because we are all over the place.
Yeah, the movie was all over the place.
It wasn't. It's just the way that we were remembering it.
And we are covering it all over the place.
And also, the family started liking her more because she went to the niece's like Christmas sing-along thing.
Yeah, the Christmas pageant.
The niece was very like distraught. She's like, I don't want to go out there, and my mom's in Turkey fighting in the armed forces or whatever. And so of course Keshia Knight Pulliam goes on stage with the single girl as she sings, and it was very weird because if you're worried about people judging you like by yourself, if you post some random ass adult up on stage with you, they're gonna judge you for that. But that's okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, so the family's like, oh my gosh, that was so cute of you, guy.
Yeah, so they start to bond with her more, and they invite her more into the family, and then this Christmas party happens.
Oh yeah.
And it is super weird.
It was just dumb.
So the whole part of the plot of this whole thing was that the young child's mom is overseas, so she's worried that she's not going to be home, and they mention it very early on and then forget about it throughout like most of the movie, that Anthony, the main character, is supposed to go pick her up from the airport because she's flying home for the holidays. He's too distracted with Grace at the party to notice that the mom is texting him, where are you? I'm at the airport. My plane has landed. Where are you? Help. I'm stranded at the airport.
Which I thought was ridiculous because his brother, who's the lady's husband, was at the party. Why wasn't she texting him? Why wasn't he texting her? It was very odd, and I feel like there might be some underbelly.
Yeah, so there was like it was obvious that they were trying to not have that character, the husband and wife, communicate because he's watching the kid and he doesn't want to spoil the surprise and that kind of stuff.
You can text.
But yeah, it was very weird how they're not really doing anything with that. They're focusing on the happiness of the whole thing, and then they step outside. Anthony realizes that he forgot at some point. Like they're like, oh, we got one more dance, and then it's the family picture, and he's all, oh my gosh, I forgot. And she and then runs outside and runs into his brother, and his brother runs out there and is like, where is she? Like, what? You were supposed to pick her up. And poof, she appears from a taxi and is like, oh, there you are. And the daughter comes outside and they all have a big family reunion. And the weirdest part of the movie happens
part. Anthony, who is the love interest, goes, oh yeah, family first. I'm so glad I'm part of the family first. And the brother's like, yeah. And they fist bump. And then Keshia goes...
And leaves.
Because he said family first.
She gets pissed off about it and leaves. And it's so weird because they've spent the whole movie flat out telling her, you are part of the family. Family is who you choose, not who you're born with. And she gets offended by him saying, oh, family and first. Then leaves.
And by the way...
And then starts packing to go home.
The grandma made her a hand-knitted scarf with her initials on. Yeah. Which she makes for all of her family every year. So, hello. And it just grossed me out because I was like, we forgot how... right before the party, she gets this gig in Toronto, which we thought was going to be the big thing, but they never mentioned it again.
Well, they did. She told him, she was like, I got a gig in Toronto. I was not supposed to stay here. I'm leaving, blah, blah, blah. And then leaves the party, dumps him and is packing up to go. he has a heartfelt moment with grandma or great grandma, and she tells him like, the secret ingredient in my recipe is this.
Salt.
It's salt. Sometimes you just need a surprise to feel like, or to make things right again. And so he goes, and they mentioned it early in the movie about a streetcar, like buying a streetcar and bringing it over in a romantic gesture,
filling it with all the animals in a zoo, and I was like,
Yeah.
that never happened. But
And
anyways.
so he does this. She's packing up and getting ready to leave, and he brings her, like, the girl brings him over, and they go outside,
and he says, there's a streetcar, and look. And so they both look, and the entire family, of course, including the sister dad, are in there waving to her just awkwardly. And it was kind of odd. But of course, they get together.
Yeah. And that was basically the end. Kind of like, much like our review, this movie was kind of a train wreck.
It wasn't good.
It was, yeah. It had promise. I was kind of excited because New Orleans Christmas, it's kind of cool to see a Christmas, these Southern Christmas movies are kind of nice because they're not the typical, oh my gosh, snowy Christmas, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They were...
Oh! We forgot that part.
Wow.
Okay, so she said she would
ahead.
give anything in the world to make snow angels with her parents again, because I guess that's what they used to do. So, in the back of the house, of the grandma's house, I believe.
It was outside, yeah, in their backyard.
He filled it, well, of course, with twinkle lights everywhere, but also with fake snow. And we're like, oh, fake snow, cool. No, they were Mardi Gras bead, white Mardi Gras beads, which we didn't notice until she's like, let's make snow angels. So they lay down and beads are...
Yeah.
So that was kind of cute.
So yeah, it was a very weird movie. A lot of ultra one-dimensional characters that just had no depth to them at all.
And Patti LaBelle, while she would be the most depth-filled character, her acting wasn't great because it wasn't like how people talk. It sounded like she was reading off of a script.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogue was very poorly written.
It was like, I will go there with you.
Yeah.
Do you like this? Praline?
It was, yeah. So overall, disappointing.
Yeah, what would we give it?
I'd give it a 3.
I'd give it like a 3.78.
It was a rough watch. It was
we had to pause it a couple times.
Yeah, it was lacking in everything.
Yeah.
The characters were not enjoyable through most of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it was just like a switch flipped, and they became like, they started out the movie as like ultra rivals, and you'd watch this and you'd be like, oh, they didn't ever have a relationship before. They just hated each other in college.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it just, like, halfway through the movie, they flip the switch, and all of a sudden they're all lovey-dovey with each other. And then at the party, they flip the switch again, and they're just like, oh, well, they hate each other now.
And the one thing that I did like about it, other than her dress, was, and maybe it's just because the movies we've been picking lately, but the past couple movies, the main girl love interest character isn't a little stick figure, which I appreciate. Like, she was larger than he was, and he still liked her. So I like that.
Yeah. But overall, not the great. Wouldn't watch it again. Would absolutely not. Yeah.
That's our review. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
And our people say bye.